Colorado justices ruled that Trump was ineligible because he took part in an insurrection during the Capitol riot. Nationally recognized civil rights attorney Ben Crump is now representing a Texas woman who was shot by police. The victim, Ebony Pouncey, was crawling through her friend's apartment window near Houston, Texas, after they got locked out. A neighbor called 911 thinking it was a break-in. Harris County deputies opened fire on Pouncey when she approached the door with a gun. Crump's team says she hadn't threatened anyone. It was in her hand for protection. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Robert Half research indicates 9 out of 10 hiring managers are having difficulty hiring. Robert Half is here to help. Their recruiting professionals use proprietary AI to connect businesses with highly skilled talent. At Robert Half, they know talent. Visit roberthalf.com today.
Is this the tackle?
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Apparently, the Clippers still have some jet lag issues after being on the road for 7 games in 13 days. They were sluggish last night against New Orleans. The Clippers committed 19 turnovers and lost by 11 at Crypto.com. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George made only 7 of 25 shots. PG was 0 for 8 on three-pointers. This team needs some rest. The NBA trade deadline is today at noon. The Lakers may be on the clock. Stay tuned. Kobe Bryant's statue will be unveiled today at 3 p.m. in Star Plaza outside Crypto. Kobe is the 6th Lakers player to have a statue outside the arena. He joins Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Elgin Baylor, Jerry West, Shaquille O'Neal, and Magic Johnson. The NFL Hall of Fame, the class of 2024, will be announced tonight in Vegas. Former Chargers tight end Antonio Gates, an 8-time All-Pro, is among the finalists. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Drop that.
You like your style, guy?
At KBLA Talk 1580, we are unapologetic about amplifying the voices of those who have historically been left out of the conversation. As we approach our 3rd anniversary this summer, the problem with talk radio in Southern California specifically, and America more broadly, is virtually unchanged. All day, all night, all white. We make no apologies for our prime audience, but true to the best of our tradition, we're committed to expanding justice and freedom for all. So when we receive messages from listeners like Neil, we just smile.
I realize that I'm not your target demographic, but I love listening to your station as it is the only progressive station on the dial.
That's us. Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
I got nothing against The Godfather. I love James Brown. And yet, as I'm thinking about it, we probably should have started with something from Motown, Miles, given who our guest is in this hour. You see, he's looking at you now, Miles. Like,
I was thinking, I almost said it.
Yeah.
And I said, I love Brother Brown. But Motown would have been real nice because that's just literally where I came from.
Yeah, when I explain who our guest is in this hour, you'll understand why I made that comment. But I know Miles, he believes in self-correction. So I'm sure going to the break, he'll get you some Motown in.
I think we can, but I got a good story for you on that.
I want to hear it. Let me introduce you properly, and then I'll go straight to your story about why we should have started with Motown and not James Brown out of Augusta, although you can't fade the Godfather. He is actor, author, entrepreneur, and now a U.S. Senate candidate in the Great Lakes state of Michigan, Hill Harper. Hill went to law school with one Barack Obama at Harvard, and Hill joins us live in studio right now to talk about why he wants to transition from thespian to politician. I have known Hill for a long time, and I'm like, Hill, why? Why? It's a cesspool.
It is.
It's dysfunctional.
It is.
We keep getting disenfranchised.
Yes.
And you want to be a part of that? I'm going to ask him why, as we move through this hour. Do you want to be a member of the United States Senate? We'll talk about that in a moment. But first of all, it's good to see you. Happy New Year.
Happy
My first
New Year.
time seeing you this year.
Yes.
So tell me your story, first of all.
So there are two buildings in Detroit that my nonprofit has recently taken control over. And it's not a great story because I wonder how many times this has happened historically. Mm-hmm. An old historic African nonprofit with older or aging executive board. It falls into some financial disrepair. They don't pay the water bill. Maybe they're behind on some tax. A predatory individual entered the name of the nonprofit and just added an S, said creating a for-profit LLC, petitioned the city of Detroit, transfer he was going to pay the back taxes and the back water bill and transfer the ownership from nonprofit to for-profit status in the name of this. Literally, an older sister who's on the board called me in tears and told me to call you because you could stop this. I said, "What's going on, ma'am?" She said, "They're going to give away our building tomorrow." I said, "What?" And she said, "Tomorrow they're going to transfer ownership of our buildings. This guy's cheating us, and he's stealing our buildings." I didn't know what was going on, but I knew I could hire a lawyer to show up. She said, "I need a lawyer. I can't afford it." So I hired a lawyer. They show up. They file for an injunction just to see what's going on. And what was going on was clear and complete theft. And the reason why it's relevant to this story, it was a music school. It was a black music school in Detroit where they taught young people music, singing, piano, and a lot of Motown artists when they were littles went through this music school. And so my plan is now she said, "Listen, I need your nonprofit to take it over now because we did save it. It cost so much money to save, my goodness, but we saved it, and now we're going to reopen it some point in the future as an art school that would include visual arts and music arts and all sorts of things." And so it's right near the Detroit border, which is right by state, and real vibrant. Yeah. So the Motown legacy is not Berry Gordy, because you got to understand these folks were talented. And so there was a cultivation of talent in the city musically and creatively that led to these teenagers being
What do you these days? You went, so I want to follow you right quick.
Right.
What are you seeing in Detroit? We'll talk about the campaign, of course. But what are you seeing in Detroit creatively these days? I mean, I have a T-shirt that I wear as often as I can, as often as it's that says Detroit versus everybody. I love it, man. Detroit versus everybody.
Brandon does those. Yes.
Love Brandon for doing that. What are you seeing? So we're talking about Berry Gordy. What are you seeing creatively in Detroit?
Well, it's incredible. There is a whole music art group and scene where for artists. There's this breakfast club that's just grown so big that it used to be an art breakfast club where young artists would come and show art and folks would buy, and it's grown so big that it's not in the morning. It's at a big space in the evenings, but it's called the Breakfast Club, and an art club, and then you have top artists that are these young, very genius level artists that folks know. I mean, some folks know who are really in the culture, know them outside of Detroit, but they're like huge in the city. And then you have visual artists like Tylon Sawyer and Tiff Massey and then Sheefy McFly, who are starting to do these.
You gotta love that name.
That's a great
Sheefy McFly.
That's right. And so they're do things. In fact, Sheefy's working on a poster for my campaign right now. Okay. We've been going back and forth ideating a poster that Sheefy is doing, and so hopefully that's going to come out. So the places that don't want to put up like a traditional campaign poster, they put up Sheefy's.
I wish that'd be a great radio. In this show, you're listening to the Sheefy McFly radio program. I would love that name, Sheefy McFly.
Hey, branding is everything.
Yeah, but you are listening to Talk About Now, and I am honored to have as our guest for Michigan United States Senate candidate. When we
You're listening to Tavis Smiley. Ranked number 45 on the Heavy 100 list of the 100 most important radio talk show hosts in America.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
When you use Bounce dryer sheets and your clothes look amazing, it's the sheet. Less static in your life? Yeah, it's the sheet. Smelling fresher than ever? It's the sheet. Oh, so soft fabric? Ooh la la. It's the sheet. Less wrinkles on your clothes? You know it's the sheet. Bounce dryer sheets. More freshness, more softness. Less static, less wrinkles. It's the sheet.
Listen up, City of Los Angeles renters that live in rent-controlled units. Landlords can now increase your rent by 4%. Know these 3 facts. The rent increase is allowed February 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2024. An extra 1% per utility up to 6% can be added if the landlord pays the entire gas and electric bill. And illegal rent increase complaints can be filed at housing.lacity.org. Check if you live in a rent-controlled unit and learn more at housing.lacity.org. Be informed, be protected, be at home.
At Sherman, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public.
This is Hill Harper. He's running for the U.S. Senate in the state of Michigan. And we started, in case you just tuned in, Miles, my board op, amazing guy, started playing some James Brown, which was great. I like, Miles, we talking about Michigan, we talking about Detroit, we better get some Motown in. And so we gave Hill Harper the opportunity to choose an artist. And who did he choose? Stevie Wonder.
And that's Studio 1A. Just listen to that sound, y'all. And when you come to Detroit, you still can come visit Studio 1A, where all these sounds and songs that you've seen. And then a big shout out to Smokey Robinson, who recently endorsed my campaign. And you know, the legacy of Motown, the legacy of entrepreneurship of Detroit, what Berry Gordy represents. I actually live right down the street from where Berry lived, and about 6 minutes literally from Hitsville, USA. And it's just the legacy still lives on. It is Motown and all that represents: entrepreneurship, black excellence, and success and artistry and creativity.
Turn it up, Miles. Turn it up.
And we're gonna bring it back.
I'm not alone anymore. Oh, once I can say this is mine, you can't take it.
That's right.
Long as I know I
Yeah, it's harder to do better than Stevie Wonder. And every time I talk to the chairman, Mr. Gordy, I just revel at what he was able to do with all of that brilliance.
Incredible.
I mean, it's just amazing. That I mean, there are a number. It's Black History Month, right?
Yeah.
And Du Bois, you went to Harvard, of course. Du Bois, the first African American to get a PhD from Harvard. I love that Du Boisian question, that quintessential Du Boisian question, which I come back to routinely, but certainly every year in Black History Month. Would America have been America without her Negro people? That's Du Bois. Would America have been America without her Negro people? And
you can extrapolate that to where we're headed to would any Democrat occupy the White House in these times?
That's right.
And would any Democrat ever win the state of Michigan without its black vote, without Wayne County, without Detroit, etc.?
I was just saying the other day that we have been called upon time and time again to save this democracy.
That's right.
Oftentimes from itself.
Yes.
We didn't just save Joe Biden's campaign. By saving him, we save the democracy.
That's absolutely right.
And people lose sight of that. But it's your conversation, not mine. Let me just jump right in here. I guess the first question is why, and I mentioned this earlier. I've been fortunate to have known you for years, and I've known you as a number of things, as a best-selling author, as an entrepreneur, as a brilliant actor. But now you want to make the switch from thespian to politician, and I'm curious as to why.
Well, when I think about my life, my name comes from two different people. Doc Hill from Seneca, South Carolina, who ran a pharmacy called Piedmont Pharmacy in Oconee County during Jim Crow segregation. And certainly after that, I would be in his pharmacy seeing him trade prescription medicines for potatoes and chickens. And he would always talk about service. And he talked about impact, and he talked about legacy, and he talked about serving our community. And that was Doc Hill. And then my other name, Harper, my grandfather, Iowa, where I was born. My father's father had an 88-acre farm outside of Fort Madison, Iowa. We were descendants of slaves from Kentucky that made their way to the Mississippi River, went up, got off the first free stop. Fort Madison was a prison town. That's why my dad ended up working in prison doing mental health work. And I believe I ended up writing, the last book I wrote was called Letters to an Incarcerated Brother. That's why I'm trying to deal with this mass incarceration crisis, which we have to take head on, which is, we can get into that later if we want. But ultimately, my grandfather had an 88-acre farm, and he was an OBGYN in Fort Madison, Iowa. My other grandfather was a pharmacist. They served, and they reinforced to me, if you're not serving and creating impact and legacy, what are you doing? Now, match that with where we are. I've always tried to do that. I wanted to be Harry Belafonte and Paul Robeson, and even my first big film that Spike Lee put me in, I got to sit next to Ossie Davis for a month plus on a bus. So when we weren't shooting, he was telling me stories about Dr. King and Malcolm X coming to him in Ruby's house.
And he knew both of them.
He did.
Yeah, that's an amazing thing.
And he said, Tavis, if you're going to be an artist, then you have to be political. Then you have to be an activist. It's part of the charge. You're not truly an artist unless that's particularly a black artist in this day, unless you make that part of your charge. So the activism, that's where the books came out. How do we improve our communities? And that's where the foundation, Manifest Your Destiny, came out. How do we improve a foundation? And we've been doing these things, Tavis, but it's been getting worse. Our community is getting punched in the face. Poor communities, whether they're black, Latino, immigrant, poor white folks, they're getting punched in the face. The fix is in. And unless we're willing, unless good people, common sense people who want solutions, who can't be bought, bossed, or bullied, get into politics, the cesspool that it is, unless we start to run for office and take this back, you're going to continue to see the wealth gap grow. You're going to continue to see homelessness explode. You're going to continue to see mental health crises, drug addiction, mass incarceration, because no one is fighting for those communities. Right now, I believe that the reaction to the Obama presidency, a lot of people say the reaction to the Obama presidency was the Tea Party. I don't think that's true. The true reaction to the Obama presidency was Citizens United in 2011. Money in politics. They said, listen, and both parties are complicit in this corruption. They said, if we make money the determining factor and allow complete unfettered dark money to roll into politics in an unlimited fashion from corporate interests, special interests, and lobbyists, then we literally nullify the voice of the people. And we can maintain power. And we need people that are willing to step into that breach, to say, I know they're going to lie on me. I know they're going to call me names. And I know they're going to try to smear my character. But if we can actually create a movement of people, we can take our government and our resources back and distribute them around to folks who need it most.
To what extent, to what extent do you think that Donald Trump was himself a response to the Obama presidency?
Oh, I think it was a massive response. Mm-hmm. But Donald Trump was brilliant in speaking to the frustration of many of the people I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. So folks are feeling that the fix is in, but whose fault is it? Mm-hmm. And then if you're able to weaponize racism and misogyny and weaponize division and do all these things, you can convince folks that it's this other person that's getting punched in the face too. And we've seen that play itself out for centuries, right? You know, you as long as you keep the masses arguing amongst themselves and divided, they don't have time to realize it's the folks at the top that are taking the lion's share. Tavis, we live in a world right now where 26 billionaires control 50% or the exact same amount of wealth as the rest of the world. Mm-hmm. Okay, folks, wrap your head around that. 26 people, 26 families control 50% of the world's wealth. Okay, and so understand it's very difficult. People are working 2-3 jobs. Over 40% of Americans don't have $400 in a bank account. 60+% are living paycheck to paycheck. We have a massive homelessness problem. That's not just about homelessness of people on a sidewalk. It's people living in their cars, people couch surfing, people going to this neighbor and this neighbor. Their kids can't find stability in school because they don't have stable housing. Mm-hmm. You know, housing fragility. If you live at or below the poverty line, you're moving 3 times a year on average. That's no way to live. And we haven't raised the federal minimum wage since 2009. It's been $7.25 since 2000. How are you going to live on $7.25 an hour? You cannot.
Yeah. You live in Detroit, and Detroit has been in the news a lot of late, certainly over the last year.
Go Lions, go Lions.
There you go. That's not where I was going.
Okay, but I just had to say.
But I ain't mad at you. It's been in the news a lot lately because of all the strikes.
Yes.
And Sean Fain, I think, did just a brilliant job of leading his organization.
He did, absolutely.
Excellent job to holding these automobile manufacturers accountable. I've said more than once on this program that I thought the person of the year last year on the cover of Time magazine should have been Labor. Not Taylor Swift, and I ain't hating on Taylor Swift. But Labor just had an amazing year last year. So here you are running for the Senate from the state of Michigan. Detroit, of course, is at the epicenter of that state. And labor is an issue that resonated significantly in this country last year. And these strikes, at one point I was calling it the summer of strikes. Then it went into the fall. Yeah. I just called it the season of strikes because it was such an amazing year for labor last year. What are you saying to voters in Michigan about labor?
Well, there's so many things. I mean, I'm a 32-year union member, and I was elected by my entire union to the national board of my union, which I served on that board for 4 years. And so if I'm elected to the U.S. Senate, they know I'll be the only truly active union member in the U.S. Senate, which is a shame. We're already down to 6% union membership in the private sector. We're seeing unions under attack. We're giving right-to-work states more funding when we should be giving them less. The Triple Blue leadership within Michigan has done a great job. We got rid of right-to-work this past year. But what we have to do federally is pass the PRO Act. And I would be the senator that would be the front-line senator fighting to pass the PRO Act. We have to give the National Labor Relations Board real teeth, which right now it doesn't, for real top dollar monetary sanctions, and also give OSHA real teeth to make top dollar sanctions. Why? Because a strike should not be the only lever labor should have to pull. It's such an extreme lever, but it literally is the only lever if you don't have the NLRB, OSHA, and others able to mete out sanctions when you see that there are union bashing and union busting activities that corporations have been utilizing recently. Now, what's been, so amazing to me is that UAW Region 1A and that leadership, Laura Dickerson, who leads that, And in UAW Region 1, that membership, Region 1A is the largest region in the UAW. They have said that they are wholeheartedly supporting me and my campaign, which is a seismic thing for our campaign. We're an insurgent grassroots campaign. We are not the Democratic establishment choice. And for them to stand up and say, we cannot get behind the endorsement of the establishment candidate because we know that Hill Harper is a fighter for us and fighter for labor. So what is that? What had that look like? Number one, I was on all the lines at Local 900, Local 600. I was on down the line at many different places wherever there were activities, speeches, and or strikes. We went all over giving out, when it started getting cold, hats and gloves, bringing food out. Now, it wasn't just UAW. SCIU Healthcare and folks who are taking care of our elderly, doing some of the most intimate jobs ever, are being completely underpaid, went to those strike lines. The casino workers in Detroit went to those strike lines. The nurses went and were on strike, went to those strike lines. So we have to support labor collectively, and to me, the labor movement is a microcosm of what we have to do in the voting and voting rights movement. Right? If we get people to re-engage and understand their power, we actually can take back our democracy. If folks continue to check out and say, you know what, I've never seen a return on my investment that's a vote, I'm out. If folks don't give that $2 or that $4 or that $5 like they used to do with Obama, and they say, you know what, I'm not going to give. I'm not raising big establishment dollars. The only way I can actually fund my campaign is through grassroots dollars. 5 people saying, I'm going to get 5 of my friends to give you $5. And that's the only way it works. But that's what it's the exact microcosm in labor. A strike only works if folks know their power to strike and then do it collectively.
Since you mentioned Barack Obama, who is your friend, of course, as I mentioned earlier, you all went to law school together at Harvard. You campaigned for him aggressively.
Yes.
Both times when he ran for president. The difference between you and Obama is, to your earlier point, he was the Democratic establishment candidate when he ran for Senate in Illinois.
Yes.
To your point, you are not the Democratic establishment candidate in this Senate race in Michigan. I want to talk about what that means. You just teed up that a little bit about how much more difficult it is to raise money when you're not the Democratic establishment candidate. But why take on that fight? That's where I want to go. With that question and a great deal more, our guest in this hour is U.S. Senate candidate in the Great Lakes state of Michigan, Hill Harper. You're listening to Hill right now, and I'm glad about it, on Tavis Smiley.
Seeking the truth. Speaking the truth. This is the Tavis Smiley Show.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Thank you for joining us, everyone. I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The U.S. Supreme Court will hear arguments today on whether Donald Trump can run again for president. The High Court will hear the case over the Colorado Supreme Court ruling that disqualified Trump from that state's ballot. The Colorado justices ruled that Trump was ineligible because he took part in an insurrection during the Capitol riot. Nationally recognized civil rights attorney Ben Crump is now representing a Texas woman who was shot by police. The victim, Ebony Pouncey, was crawling through her friend's apartment window near Houston, Texas, after they got locked out. A neighbor called 911 thinking it was a break-in. Harris County deputies opened fire on Pouncey when she approached the door with a gun. Crump's team says she hadn't threatened anyone. It was in her hand for protection. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Robert Half research indicates 9 out of 10 hiring managers are having difficulty hiring. Robert Half is here to help. Their recruiting professionals use proprietary AI to connect businesses with highly skilled talent. At Robert Half, they know talent. Visit roberthalf.com today.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Apparently, the Clippers still have some jet lag issues after being on the road for 7 games in 13 days. They were sluggish last night against New Orleans. The Clippers committed 19 turnovers and lost by 11 at Crypto.com. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George made only 7 of 25 shots. PG was 0 for 8 on three-pointers. This team needs some rest. The NBA trade deadline is today at noon. The Lakers may be on the clock. Stay tuned. Kobe Bryant's statue will be unveiled today at 3 p.m. in Star Plaza outside Crypto. Kobe is the 6th Lakers player to have a statue outside the arena. He joins Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Elgin Baylor, Jerry West, Shaquille O'Neal, and Magic Johnson. The NFL Hall of Fame, the class of 2024, will be announced tonight in Vegas. Former Chargers tight end Antonio Gates, an 8-time All-Pro, is among the finalists. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Race, culture wars, political turf battles, criminal justice, and injustice. The courts. These are the conversations you won't hear elsewhere. My guests are leading journalists, celebrities, and sports figures, elected leaders, and influencers. They aren't afraid to get into it and say the quiet part out loud. With Ariva Martin in real time, your commute just became the most engaging part of your day. Tune in weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. or find us on YouTube. Ariva Martin in real time, when you want it straight, no chaser.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
If you like using debit over credit, shouldn't you also get rewarded? Well, now you can with Discover Cashback Debit. It's a checking account that rewards everyone with cash back on everyday purchases with no fees, period. Check out eligibility and terms at discover.com/cashbackdebit. Discover Bank, member FDIC.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 80% water, right?
80% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure, concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Ooh, pass me the intercom thingy.
Attention shoppers. If you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Don't pay for water. Pay for clean. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Pods.
Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so, as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com. Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
Your floors can go from clean to dirty fast. From juice spills, whoops, to muddy paw prints, to little sticky finger marks. Good thing your Swiffer WetJet works fast too. Swiffer WetJet easily cleans everyday messes as quick as they happen. The next mess is right around the corner. So grab your Swiffer WetJet and just spray, push, all clean.
As we go a little something like this.
Hey, it is me, D.L. Hughley, and I am thrilled to be heard weekdays in my hometown on KBLA Talk 1580. So check out the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show weekdays from 2 to 4 p.m. exclusively on KBLA Talk 1580. We got a whole lot to talk about, let me tell you. That's like a real.
Sounds different, huh? This is Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Hill Harper, who is our guest in this hour. Delighted to have him in studio. He is a candidate for the U.S. Senate in Michigan, but by his own admission, he is not the establishment candidate. He's the outsider. And I was making the point moments ago that his friend Barack Obama, with whom he attended Harvard Law, was the insider candidate in his Senate race years ago in the state of Illinois. So what's the difference between being the insider candidate versus being an outsider candidate for the U.S. Senate, Hill Harper?
Is money. I mean, I
thought you said that.
It is money.
Yeah.
And here's the deal. Folks have to understand, this is the way candidacy works, particularly if it's a statewide, right? You can't be everywhere physically. If it's a local district, if it's, you can go to a lot of people's houses and you can, there's no way I can be in everyone's home across the state. So how do folks get in everyone's homes?
Television, radio,
print, sure. Electronic billboards, sure. Sending out mailers. So all of that costs money, and the way the establishment puts blockades up is that they make sure that their instrument and their arm of fundraising is given to the establishment candidate so that they can overwhelm the election with with those dollars. So cover everybody with mailers, billboards, radio, TV, and even online ads, Facebook, etc.
But if you catch fire, your home was in Detroit. If you catch fire with black voters, that could change things. But I'm of two minds on this, and you tell me which one of these assessments is correct. You catch fire with black people in Detroit, it changes the whole conversation.
Yes.
Because they don't want to wrestle with that, number one. On the other hand, if you catch fire with black folk in Detroit, since all the other folk in the state of Michigan hate Detroit, as you well know, outside Detroit, in the state of Michigan, they hate the city of Detroit, then that can work against you. So which of these narratives is going to be, yeah.
Well, I'm going to even be more granular.
Give it to me.
It is, if I catch fire with the most loyal voting bloc in all of the Democratic Party, which are black women.
Mm-hmm.
If I catch fire with black women, then what we've known historically is that all other communities follow our culture and all other communities follow. Mm-hmm. And so black women are the most important voters in the state of Michigan. They're the most important voting bloc. Remember, this is a Democratic primary. Mm-hmm. I'm not worried about the general election.
Yeah, sure.
I have to win the Democratic primary, which is August 6th, to win the general. So that is going to come through black women. And as black women make their decision, if I can move their hearts and minds, for they know I'm the best candidate for them to represent their issues on issues like health care, that is completely broken, as we know, on issues like mental health, on issues like women's reproductive rights and women's reproductive freedom, child mortality, where black women suffer the most. Mm-hmm. We're talking about these things, public safety, gun violence, education. These are issues that black women care about. And my mom lives with me in Detroit. Mm-hmm. And so elder care, child care. I'm in a sandwich generation. I have an 8-year-old son and a mother, and I don't want her to get mad at me. She's got an 8 on her number too.
Yeah.
So we got 2 8s in my house, and taking care and supporting each. And so folks get this, and they understand that our representation is not there. Mm-hmm. And that's why most of folks have checked out. And see, this is the point. If you've never seen a return on your investment that's a vote, why keep voting? Mm-hmm. And what we're trying to say to folks is, I am not a career politician. It's very clear. And I'm going to be a different type of representative for us and our issues. It's a $6.2 trillion federal budget, Tavis. If you don't have someone sitting around the table fighting to get, and it's your money. Mm-hmm. It's not, people act like it's the government's. It's your money. It's the people's money.
Sure.
And it's $6.2 trillion. Pentagon just said recently they can't find $8 trillion. We're about to send $60 billion to this country, and we're funding foreign wars around the world. And if your kids, like many of the kids in Detroit, are 3, 4, 5 grades below in reading and math, you can't find in many neighborhoods around our city, whether it's Detroit or Pontiac or Flint or Saginaw, Muskegon, Benton Harbor, Kalamazoo, Battle Creek, many of these communities, you can't find fresh produce for 3-4 miles around. You can find a liquor store where all you can buy are Funyuns, Faygo, or Vernors through 3 inches of plexi.
I love Vernors, though. Don't hate on Vernors, though.
Listen, that give you diabetes.
I can't drink it every day, but I like me a Vernors every now and then.
Okay.
To what extent, we mentioned earlier, we were talking earlier about the fact that outside of Detroit, the rest of the state of Michigan hates the city of Detroit. And yet, I'm wondering in this race how much race is going to be a factor.
I don't know. I do know that as I've traveled around, I've hit all 83 counties already.
Yeah.
And I do know that our message is resonating when we can reach folks. We're winning voters 2-1 when we can get in front of them. The question is, are we going to have the fuel to get in front of them? My buddy who's an expert in D.C. says, hey, you could have a Lamborghini, but if you can't put gas in it, it goes nowhere, right? And so we need the funding to put the gas in to get the message out. So what does that message look like? Folks are completely frustrated with our federal government. There's no question. And what they're frustrated about is that they know that the politicians are putting their own political power interests ahead of the people's interest. And what does that mean? We're seeing it play out right now with immigration bill. We all know that there's a border crisis that needs a solution. Yet rather than giving a victory on immigration, a so-called solution that sort of in some way tries to deal with a problem to this current president, what they're doing is playing politics with the solution. And that's folks are pissed off about that. And they're frustrated, and they want someone who believes I'm not into this idea of making everyone else the villain. I just want to solve problems for people.
Yeah. You and I both know, we were talking about this during the break, that low turnout always benefits incumbents.
Yes.
High turnout benefits insurgent candidates like yourself.
That's right.
Which raises the obvious question: how do you inspire high turnout? Now, I think you're in the catbird's seat in the sense that at least you're running in a presidential election year. It ain't an off-year election, which means that there will be more people turning out in Michigan and everywhere else, for that matter.
That's right. But we got to be clear.
Sure.
In Michigan, there's a split primary.
That's right. There sure
so
is.
February 27th
That's
is when the presidential primary is, and the two names will be at the top of those tickets. And then August 6th, my name, along with my opponent's name, will be at the top of the ticket. So the question is, how do we get people to turn out for a second time in the middle of the summer? How do we get them to pull a Democratic primary sheet as opposed to a Republican sheet, or not vote at all?
It'll be warmer in August and February.
It'll be warmer. It sure will be warmer. Here's the deal. Let's take a look back real quick. A state with so much wonderful black political history and power. A place where we had Coleman Young, John Conyers. There was a man named Richard Austin who ran for Senate, who was Secretary of State. You had Carolyn Cheeks Kilpatrick. We can go on and on and on about leadership. And for the first time, and everyone should hear this, for the first time in 57 years, right now, Michigan does not have a black Democratic representative in Congress.
Not one.
Not one.
Wow.
There are 15 seats that person could occupy. 13 congressional House of Representatives seats and 2 Senate seats. And for the first time in 57 years, there's no black Democratic representative. And so when we talk about lack of representation and we talk about what that means, during Coleman Young years, black folks turned out to the tune of 60+% in terms of voting, right? They were seeing a return on their investment in their minds, so they voted. In the last primary, Democratic primary in Michigan, black turnout was 10%.
Hold that thought. When we come forward, I want to ask you a question specifically about that. And the question is this. I'll tee it up now. To what extent, then, given what you've just said, does gentrification in the city of Detroit hurt or help a Hill Harper U.S. Senate candidacy? That and more when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on!
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, And I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
Getting your biggest tax refund from Jackson Hewitt can lead to some spirited reactions.
Jackson Hewitt!
Jackson Hewitt is so sure that you'll get your biggest refund that if they don't, you get your money back plus $100.
Jackson Hewitt!
And Jackson Hewitt also guarantees the accuracy of your return for life. So don't just sit there. For your biggest refund guaranteed, walk into a Jackson Hewitt today and dance out Jackson Hewitt!
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do Black history every single day. In fact, as the only Black talk radio station west of the Mississippi, we are Black history. Our annual Black History Month luncheon is fast approaching, and we want to be sure to give you ample time to get your company, organization, church, or group to join us at this year's celebration on the last day of the month, Thursday, February 29th at noon. Last year, we honored iconic local Black media personalities, including Pat Harvey, Jim Hill, Mark Brown, Beverly White, Sandy Banks, and Pat Prescott, and raised $20,000 in scholarships. This year, we're honoring Black Hollywood creatives who have used their artistic genius as climate justice champions. At this year's luncheon, we will be showcasing and sharing their inspiring work on our big screen. Plus, a scrumptious meal, live music, great company, and lots of fun with your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts. So contact us today at info@smileyAudiomedia.com or call 323-290-4690. That's info@smileyAudiomedia.com or call 323-290-4690. We hope to see you Thursday, February 29th as we close out Black History Month. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your Black.
Ready to re-examine your assumptions and expand your inventory of ideas? More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
More of Michigan U.S. Senate candidate Hill Harper coming your way right now. My time is getting away from me, so let me move more swiftly here. To what extent is the gentrification of Detroit that we all know about hurt or help a Hill Harper candidacy?
Well, you know, it's not about helping or hurting Hill Harper candidacy. It's about helping or hurting the city and the people in the city, to me. And the problem with what's happened in Detroit is that most of the focus has been where my small business is, which is downtown. You know, I've owned that business for about 7 years. Downtown, it's a coffee shop. It's great. And to see that development, but we did not demand and show a way to develop the neighborhoods and the communities surrounding where most of the people who have been there for years have lived. And that's part of what my whole economic agenda is around my campaign, is that we have to undergird the entrepreneurs from these communities to be able to start businesses and create successful local communities. So as more people move into the city, we want more people, because Detroit has been losing people. We want more people moving in, but we want to make sure that the people who are already there aren't getting pushed out.
Let me circle back to your friend once again, Barack Obama, with whom you attended Harvard Law. When Obama campaigns for the Senate, he has a photo op everywhere he goes of him, his brilliant wife, Michelle, and those two beautiful girls, Sasha and Malia. Your frame is a little bit different.
That's right.
I was trying to think of the last time I talked to anybody running for high office who was running as a single dad, and in your case, a single black dad, a single father of a black boy.
That's right.
Is that coming up on the campaign trail?
It comes up on the campaign trail all the time, because that's in part why I'm running. You know, one of the things that shocked me or hit me like a brick was when my son, when he was in first grade, told me, I take him to school every morning. One day he said, "Daddy, I don't want to go to school." I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, because I think, I'm scared they're going to shoot me." And this was after there was an MSU shooting and an Oxford shooting in the state of Michigan, and obviously the other shootings, Nashville, and also that year. And you just take a step back and realize the NRA and the gun lobby have literally controlled our politics to such a degree that we're having little kids, because what he was scared about is actually about the active shooter training stuff they do. It's not that, it's just think about it. With your child at home, you have them get under the cupboard, because somebody, you're not going to traumatize your child at home, but we're letting them traumatize our kids at school because we don't want to take it. We're letting them say that they're prioritizing the Second Amendment over the mental health of a second grader. It's ridiculous. And until people step up and want to step and fight big lobbyists, whether it's NRA, whether it's big pharma, whether it's big oil, whether it's APAC or whatever. We have to stand up to money institutions that are controlling our politics.
In our remaining moments, I'm going to go there. I probably shouldn't, but I'm going to go there anyway because I know Hill can handle it. We've talked about a guy named Barack Hussein Obama a few times in this conversation. We've talked about the fact that Hill is running an insurgent campaign. He is not the Democratic establishment candidate. We've talked about the fact it takes money to run and win. I know one surefire way to raise a whole lot of money and to get a whole lot of attention. It would be if your friend Barack Hussein Obama came out in support of your candidacy. I assume, we'll find out the truth when we come forward, I assume that like most presidents, he will stay out of the primary until there is a winner, and then he will get involved. But the difference is he went to law school with Hill. We'll talk about that when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Stay Housed LA has the resources you need to know your rights and the legal support to back them up. The COVID-19 pandemic has cost people their jobs and livelihoods. This has left an estimated 1/3 of households not being able to make rent and facing losing their homes. This is a fear no one in our community should have to face. You have rights, though, and Stay Housed LA is here to help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between the County of Los Angeles, the City of Los Angeles, and local community and legal service providers. Together, they provide tenants with the information and support needed to exercise their rights so they can remain safely in their homes. Find out more about your rights by participating in a virtual tenant workshop. Get the legal assistance you need. Find additional resources in Los Angeles County and the City of Los Angeles. Stay connected to Stay Housed LA County for updates. This and more at stayhousedla.org. Stay connected to Stay Housed LA for updates. This and more at stayhousedla.org. That's stayhousedla.org. Or call their hotline at 213-694-0040. We've got your black with a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Jim Gaffigan here with some more Straight Talk. Now you can get a Walmart Plus membership, plus not pay for it, because it's included with Straight Talk wireless plans. You get free delivery with Walmart Plus, plus a Paramount Plus subscription included. Plus, you pay less for gas. That's a lot of pluses.
Only Straight Talk gives you unlimited 5G data and Walmart Plus included on select plans for free.
Straight Talk wireless, available at Walmart.
Requires service on Gold or Platinum Unlimited. One offer per eligible account. Paramount Plus Essential Plan only. Separate registration required. Additional terms apply.
Who do you trust to get at the truth?
Tavis Smiley.
That's who. The conversation continues right now.
Got 4 minutes left here with Hill Harper. Before we wrap this conversation, let me give you a phone number if you want a phone number and some web information to contact and connect, I should say, with Hill. HillHarper.com. Can't get any easier than that. HillHarper.com. He's how to learn more about his campaign and get involved and support the brother. And there's a phone number that you can call for those who don't really do online stuff, 313-942-4455. 313-942-4445. Once again, the online address is hillharper.com, and the phone number to connect with Hill, and they'll give you all the information you need about his campaign, 313-942-4455. 4455.
And you can text that number.
Yes.
Is even better, because if you text it,
Yeah.
you get a text
Did I say
response.
call? Did I
You
say
said
call? I meant text.
Text
Thank
is
you.
actually better.
Yeah.
Because that way we can handle all those texts all at the same time. And
glad
we
you-
appreciate everybody.
I meant to say text. I didn't mean to say called. I'm glad you corrected me on that. That's why he's running for Senate, because he's on top of things, and I'm just moving through life. Okay, so I raised the Obama question earlier. My sense,
Sure.
as I said earlier, these things are pretty formulaic. You don't get involved until the primary is over. But you and Barack Obama go all the way back to Harvard Law School. So talk to me.
Yeah, former presidents aren't supposed to get involved in primaries, nor should other major party officials. And that's why I wish the Democratic Party establishment, particularly folks like the likes of Chuck Schumer and others, would not be putting their thumb on the scale here.
They're doing that already?
Oh, without question. Without question, they are.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. That's the way our politics are set up right now, and that's why we have to take it back. Right. The establishment wants to only have candidates in these very powerful seats that they have placed there, because they know in the context of a 50-50 Senate, they can't control me. I'm not a go-along, get-along, and I'm not going to be bossed or bullied, as I said before. I'm going to fight for the people, and actually, the establishment doesn't want that. They want you to fight for the establishment or the status quo or the party, and I'm not interested in that.
Yeah. I assume, though, that if you didn't think you could win, this ain't no exercise in futility.
No,
for
it
you.
certainly is not. This is not performative.
Exactly.
We're going to win this.
Yeah, I assume if you thought you couldn't win, you wouldn't be in it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Then the math looks good for us if we can move hearts and minds.
Mm-hmm.
But the only way we do that is folks who are listening right now to do the things that $2, $5, $10, so we can start getting the message out to a wider and wider audience. Then all of a sudden, because grassroots campaigns, what happens is they build a bit. It's like a wave, and then at the end, everybody starts falling your way. Same thing that happened with Barack against Hillary in 2007, moving into that primary. As soon as he proved viability in Iowa by winning that early Iowa caucus, folks started coming their way, because folks generally don't want what they've been getting.
Yeah.
Okay, because what's the definition of insanity, Tavis?
Same thing.
Doing the same thing
same
over,
way,
expecting a different result.
Different result.
People
Exactly.
don't like what they've been getting. They
That's
want
right.
something new, but they look to their left and to the right to see if everybody's on board with that.
I'm thinking that if we can get Hill Harper in the United States Senate, there'd be, for the first time ever, to my recollection, I have to do my history on this again. I think I'm right about this. There'd be 4 black men in the U.S. Senate. Now, Tim Scott, we praying for that brother, but there's Tim Scott. Again, who is at the top of my prayer list, Lord help him. Cory Booker.
That's right.
Raphael Warnock.
That's right.
And there'd be you.
That's right.
That'd be pretty historic.
And I think we're going to get Angela also Brooks in there, and then we're going to get this done. But the thing is that I'm going to be the one in there that's fighting that fight way out in front, because that'll allow them. It's almost like in a football game. We got the Super Bowl coming up.
Some blockers.
You need some blockers.
There
I'm
you
going to
go.
get it way out in front, because what Trump has done on the other side is he's pushed, when you push and then people are saying that, well, at least that person's not Trump, and then they'll say that about Cory Booker. At least that's not Hill.
HillHarper.com, HillHarper.com, and you can text this number to get connected to his campaign, 313-942-4445. One final time, HillHarper.
4455.
What did I say?
You said 45. 4445.
313-942-4455. There you have it. All right, I'm out of here, man.
Oh, this
I
is
appreciate
great.
you. Good to have you here,
I
man.
so appreciate you, Tavis. You're
We'll
a
see.
hero for all of us.
You are kind. We'll see you again on the campaign trail. Anything I can do to help, let me know.
Thanks so much.
More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. 5 Marines who had been missing in California have been found dead. A search began for their helicopter after it was reported overdue early Wednesday morning. The helicopter was found yesterday in Pine Valley, just over 40 miles east of San Diego. The Marines were taking part in a training flight from Creech Air Force Base near Las Vegas, Nevada, when it was reported overdue. In Maryland, law enforcement leaders are celebrating Black History Month. Maryland State Police was the first black person appointed as superintendent of Maryland State Police. You can view the full video